Hello, I'm John Lyne. I'm a professor of communication, and I circulate around the theme of rhetoric. And that's a big part of our department, both at the undergraduate and the graduate level. Now, thinking rhetorically about communication, we look toward strategy. We look toward the capacity of language to influence and persuade. Not just transfer of information, although that always happens. You're looking at the way that the choice of topics, the choice of words, patterns in the discourse, the way one positions oneself relative to an audience, all of those things shape the way we perceive things and the way we reason. And so it's a little bit psychology, it's a little bit linguistics, it's a little bit philosophy. In other words, sort of all the traditional aspects of the humanities kind of converge in what we're talking about when we look at rhetoric, because it's where the action is really happening, bringing all these considerations to bear. Now, I teach argument, and the department has a big investment in argument. And that's focused on reasoning and the use of reasoning in communicative practice. So it's one of the ways we think about how rhetoric can lead you toward judgment and in some cases toward action. By looking at the way that people get from point A to point B, we see not only the trail of their reasoning, but we see the possibilities for critique as well. How can you get better? How can you find the flaws in other people's reasoning? Now, persuasion is rampant throughout our society, and most of it does not depend on carefully reasoned, reflected discourse. If you look at TV ads, for example, they're trying to persuade you, but they don't want you to think too much about it. They want to short-circuit reason. If you see a TV ad with Jennifer Lopez standing by a Fiat, they want to increase the likelihood you'll buy a Fiat. But if you stop and think what the reasoning is there, if I buy a Fiat, I'll be as glamorous as Jennifer Lopez. No, that doesn't make any sense. If I buy a Fiat, maybe Jennifer Lopez will like me. Fat chance. This is not what's going on. They want you to make the association, right? So that's rhetorical too. But in argument, we try to go back and say, okay, we understand the association that's being made there. We want to understand the complex possibilities that underlie all of that. And the way it short-circuits reason is one of the things that we're interested in finding. Now, apart from TV ads, many of us are interested in political communication. And of course, political communication engulfs us at present. And if you've been watching the so-called presidential debates, which are more Q&A sessions actually, it's very interesting because they're sort of somewhere on the spectrum between argument here and Jennifer Lopez here, right? They are in short segments trying to compress and convey something, and they don't have much time to lay it out. So there's some argumentative content, but it's always very rhetorical in the sense that it's pulling on all the different strands that can be used in that context. And like a lot of advertising, it's trying to attract you to something. It's saying, vote for me. One of the ways you try to attract somebody is to make them feel repulsed by something else, right? This country's going to hell in a handbasket. Vote for me. These other jokers won't improve anything. Vote for me. So you've got this sort of push away and the pull toward going on. So that's just a happy hunting ground for people who study rhetoric. But I would add, too, that it's also rhetoric, a kind of window on our culture and on our society, because it's not just about what somebody generates in a particular context. It's also about all that is circulating that makes that possible. Things that go viral, memes, ideology, traditions, all of those are already in place in some way when we mount the stage, so to speak, and try to make a persuasive case or try to influence perception. So, by looking at rhetorical practices and seeing them against the backdrop of culture and society, we get a pretty good idea of some of the wellsprings of action and ideology and even voting behavior in some cases. So this means that we have important things to do in the teaching of skills and the teaching of criticism, but also important things to do in scholarship. Our faculty are involved in a very strong PhD program. We produce scholarship and we keep an eye on pedagogy, scholarship, but also, and I don't want to slight this one, and that is the possibilities for civic engagement. Because we want our students not just to be consumers, we want them to be citizens. And that should not be lost. And the tradition of rhetoric is one that cultivates the possibilities of citizenship. How can my voice be put out there? How can I enter a controversy? How can I engage others? And so a number of the courses that we teach are sort of circulating around those themes. And that's what we do. And perhaps I'm biased, but I think that's important stuff to study.